The momentum created in Los Angeles has made its way north, and every aspect of the Giants game is starting to click. But momentum is only as good as your next starting pitcher. Now the challenge goes to Albert Suarez, making a spot start in Game 2 of the series. Giants Braves next.
We love Saturday night baseball here at AT&T Park as we get ready for Giants baseball. This is Game 2 of this 3-game series, Braves and Giants. Hi again, everybody. I'm Dwayne Kuiper. Alongside me is Mike Krukow. Well, a lot going on tonight. Look, no Buster Posey. It'll be Trevor Brown behind the dish. Dodgers win today. Jake Peavy on the DL. And Albert Suarez makes a start. So tell me about Albert Suarez.
Well, Albert Suarez brings his 3-1 record with an ERA right around 4 into this ball game tonight. And the assignment is simple. Go as hard as you can, as long as you can. And I think it's very important for Suarez to be ready in that first inning. This is not a start where you can warm up to it. You got to be ready to go, simply because the Giants have a very rested bullpen and an off day Monday, so they could go to the bullpen early in this ball game. Keep an eye on the two Brandons tonight. They've got great home run numbers against Mike Fultonevich, the right-hander for the Braves. So just keep this good flow going. They got a nice rhythm right now.
And Joe Panik is hitting third, and he's quite excited about that. All right, when we come back, we will have the lineups and the first pitch of this game on this Saturday night right after this.
Is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box. Limited time only at participating restaurants. And by Toyota. Toyota's Labor Day clearance event is here. For Labor Day only, get $2,500 total cash back on the redesigned 2016 Prius. Toyota, let's go places.
Back at AT&T Park, the Giants have taken the field, so let's take a quick look at the game time weather as presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is now open daily. 64 degrees here at the park. You see the winds at 12 miles per hour, humidity at 60%, and it is mostly cloudy. All right, Suarez ready to go, so let's take a look at the lineup for the Braves. We'll do it quickly. It'll be Inciarte, Garcia, and then Freeman, who's hot, followed by Kemp, Markakis, and then Tyler Flowers. Peterson will hit 7th, Swanson 8th, and Fultonevich will hit 9th.
On the hill tonight for the Giants will be the rookie right-hander Albert Suarez, 6'3", 235-pounder. He's 26 years old. Comes into tonight's ball game with a 3-1 record, a 4.20 ERA. That in 6 starts, 10 out of the bullpen. And when you face him, you're going to see a fastball that's low to mid-90s with velocity. He's got a curveball, slider, and a changeup. He'll throw all 4 at you.
And the first pitch of the game to Inciarte is outside for a ball. So we get started right on time. Inciarte hitting 279. And he takes a pitch down low. Home plate umpire is Corey Blazer. Sherwater, Nelson, and Laz Diaz from first to third.
And Blazer's a low ball umpire. And if you have width on an outside corner, it's on the first base side. Pretty good zone.
Suarez needs to throw a strike. It's 3-0.
That'll definitely settle him down.
Settle me down.
Well, I'm a little worried about you. And just like that, he puts himself in the stretch. Just take a look at the defense playing behind Albert Suarez. Tonight, starting in the outfield from left to right, it'll be Pagan, Span, and Hernandez. Hunter Pence getting another day off with that tender hamstring. Crawford, Nunez on the left side of the infield. Panic and Gillespie, a late scratch belt, is out of the game with a stiff neck. Gillespie is at first, joining Panic. And Trevor Brown, he'll be in the squad, putting down the signs. This is how Suarez uses his stuff. A lot of sliders for his best specialty pitch.
And a strike to Garcia. Garcia at 263. He's got some power, 11 home runs, 44 runs batted in. Inciarte with 11 steals. Not really a base stealing team, this Atlanta Braves team. More of a power in the middle of the lineup. Garcia last night went 0 for 4. He did hit a line drive with the bases loaded off of Samardzija that was caught. That really did save Samardzija. Swing and a miss and a curveball, 1-2.
That was a good curveball. It's always important to establish your specialty pitches early in the game, and with one pitch he just established the curve. It's working. Not an easy backdrop right now. It's not going to be easy till probably about the 3rd inning for the hitters.
Swing and a miss again. 1 down.
All right, time now for our Nissan keys to the game. Number 1, Suarez, get into that early rhythm. It's important. And number 2, check out the matchup tonight between Brandon Crawford and Mike Fultonevich, the right-hander on the hill for the Braves. Crawford's faced him 7 times. He's got 3 hits, 2 of which are home runs. Those are our Nissan keys to the game.
So here's Freddie Freeman. Freeman takes wide. Here's the power we're talking about. 26 home runs, 62 driven in, hitting 290.
That's not a lot of productivity RBI-wise with 26 home runs. A lot of those home runs have been solo shots.
Inciarte being held on by Gillespie, and that pitch is down low.
So his first changeup missed a little bit low, and Suarez thought he should have gotten that call.
Overshift is on. Swing and a foul into the glove of Brown. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. You see seasons with 20+ home runs by a first baseman. Joe Adcock. This is for the Braves. Fred McGriff. Orlando Cepeda's in that bunch. Swinging a high fly ball to left for Pagan. Pagan will catch. Inciarte has to hold. 2 down. Here's a look at that list again. See, Freddie Freeman's 4th, and then Cepeda, Chambliss, the Big Cat, and then Adam LaRoche.
Well, the guy on top of the heap, though, he was your guy when you were a kid growing up in Milwaukee, Joe Adcock.
He was one of them. You're exactly right. Digging in right now is Matt Kemp, digging a hole. And the pitch is a strike at the knees. Last night, Giants held Kemp to an 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He's only faced Suarez 1 time, and he's 1 for 1. And a little bit of a lean by Inciarte.
That was close. And it looked to me like he had an idea about going there. Had that have been Belt with the left-handed glove, he may have had a chance. A right-handed first baseman like Gillespie, a little bit slower to get the tag on. That's why you take the outside route, try and touch that corner of the bag that's closest to right field. Just a tip for you kids.
Giants are going to take a look at it. But the tag was late and high.
Matt Kemp, a 10-year veteran.
Oh, 2.
They are not picking up the spin on that curveball. We saw Garcia, the second place hitter in this inning, swing through a couple of breaking balls. And now Kemp. And it's not easy to see right now. And picking up spin on a baseball is the most difficult thing to do. And you don't get a good look at the ball with shadows.
And a pitch out. So it's 1-2. Every once in a while, you got to throw a pitch out. Roger Craig used to say that he would do it just to let the other team know that he would do it.
He'd do it in a 2-0 count.
Quick toss, and again, Inciarte is back.
As you mentioned, Kemp in his 10th year at the big league level. He's still 31 years old. That was one of the big reasons why the Braves got him.
Inciarte leaning. Got him, and that'll end the inning. Suarez with a big bounce back after walking Inciarte on 4 pitches. All right, let's take a look at the Giants lineup. Facing Fultonevich, it'll be Span, then Pagan, Panik, and Brandon Crawford. And Crawford likes the Braves. He likes playing against them. Gillespie, as Mike mentioned, late addition to the lineup. The Nunez, Brown, and Hernandez, and Albert Suarez will hit ninth.
On the hill tonight for the Atlanta Braves is the right-hander Mike Fultonevich. Fultonevich, 6'4", 200-pounder. He's in his second year at the big league level. And in 17 starts this year, 6'5", 6-5 with a 4.55 ERA. Made about a Sterling, Illinois. You take your at-bats against Fultonevich, you're going to see a good fastball, and he can go mid to high 90s with it. He's got a curveball, slider, and changeup, so he'll give you the basic four, and he'll use them all. Lifetime against the Giants, 1-0 with a 1.50 ERA. That's in, or 1-1, I beg your pardon, with a 4.34 ERA. He beat him earlier in Atlanta this year. 3 hits allowed in 6 innings. He's got good stuff.
I don't know. I only remember him pitching great against the Giants. There's a strike.
Yeah, it was May when he got the win, his first win against San Francisco.
Oh, and 1 to Span. Span down the left field line, and that's foul. Pagan on deck. And this is hit on the ground to Freddie Freeman. So Span retired.
Let's take a look at the Braves defensively, starting in their outfield from left to right. It'll be Kemp, Inciarte, and Markakis. Good arms in left field with Kemp and in right field with Markakis. Swanson and Garcia on the left side of the infield. Peterson and Freeman on the right side. And Tyler Flowers, he'll be in the squad, putting down the signs. And what does Mike Fultonevich throw? Well, a lot of fastballs. And he'll average 95 miles an hour with the fastball. He's got a slider, curveball, and changeup. And as he mentioned, he will throw them all. More changeups to lefties, more breaking balls to righties.
Here's Pagan. And Pagan takes one to the backstop. Pagan 1 for 4. He hit a home run in the game last night. It went right to the back of the arcade. And that next pitch is wide. Here's what it looked like. Boom.
Two-seamer that kind of coasted back in the middle of the strike zone. And that's all she wrote. Home run number 9.
And a strike. He's having a good year, Angel Pagan.
Well, he really is. With the glove, with the bat. Solid season.
And a strike to make it 2-2. Joe Panik chalking up. Two pitch coming up. Here it is to Pagan, and Pagan strikes out swinging. So Pagan is going to be a little disappointed. He started out that at bat 2-0.
And then all of a sudden, 3 fastballs later, he's heading back to the Giants dugout.
And I think, Mike, what you said about the shadows, I think you have to take into full account that it's tough right now for everybody. Here's Panik. Panik takes a strike. One for 3 for Panik yesterday, and that one hit knocked in a couple of big runs early in the game. Here he takes down low. Diaz says no, he did not go. No score.
Hey, they got their gloves on. They're ready.
The Twinkies. How about that? One lefty, one righty.
Dad's got his glove on. Nice going, Dad.
Yeah.
Raising him right.
Look at this. They think that they're going to get one right now. This is roll to second, where Peterson is going to throw him out. 1, 2, 3 innings. Second inning coming up. Get ready, boys. Next inning.
Next inning.
Road trip or a AAA branch for details. Restrictions apply.
It's a 0-0 ball game. We got moms and dads and families all over the place.
Come to the yard, get a little bite to eat, bring your glove, get ready.
Josh here with his family. Here's Nick Markakis. Takes a strike. Good hitter. 272. 9 home runs, 73 runs batted in. Mike talked about the discrepancy of RBIs and home runs to Freeman. Markakis goes the other way. Take away the 9 RBIs on home runs, and he's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, he really has.
Spins that breaking ball in for a strike. 1 and 2.
That curveball's snapping tonight. Oh yeah, and so is his attire. Snapping. Gamer.
Connor Gillespie spearing that ground ball as we enter the stretch run to the 2016 season. Check out the new pennant race pack. Get tickets to 4 remaining regular season games, and it will guarantee your option to purchase 1 NLDS or wildcard ticket per pack. sfgiants.com/minipacks, and you can select your 4 games. Here's Tyler Flowers. Strike at the knees to Flowers. Sometimes Suarez just looks like he's throwing downhill.
He gets a rhythm going, and he can sustain it. That's why it's really important for him to establish that rhythm early, because I mean, he's a confident arm with 4 pitches. That was a good pitch. Did not miss by much.
So it's 2 balls and a strike. A couple of breaking balls. Tap foul. 2-2. Well, Giants, you saw that big curveball from Suarez. The Giants hitters saw a variety of curveballs for about 4 or 5 games in a row.
Boy, did they ever. They saw some of the best breaking balls
my
ever.
goodness. Started out with Kente Maeda on Tuesday night. Hill. Then was Stripling.
And the Dodger staff was throwing a lot of them.
Oh, and they just kept throwing them. 2-2 pitch. Here it is to Flowers. It's this one on the ground to Joe Panik, and Joe Panik has it. All right, let's check in with Amy G.
All right, guys. Hunter Pence listed as day-to-day, but that does not mean he doesn't have something to say. And we're going to make it our Geico quote. He commented on the pennant chase. He said, "It's that time of year, dude. It's the most fun time. Every game is important. The drama is at its highest, and I'm just basking in the joy of this time of year and this situation we're in." Gentlemen.
I mean, the beauty of Hunter Pence, when you see someone say that, you think that he's hitting cleanup. Now.
I know. I mean, he said that the day after he had his hamstring surgery early in the year. I mean, he just stays on a positive flow.
And you cannot knock him off of that.
No. He refuses to approach life any other way. You know, he's one of those guys that, I mean, he doesn't plow through a room. I mean, he's going to carry a whole room load of people on his shoulders along the way.
A little dribbler out in front of home plate. Brown will take his time, and that'll end the inning as Brown looks at his fingers after he threw the ball. It'll be Crawford, Gillespie, Nunez coming up.
Brandon Crawford put on a clinic with his glove, coming in on the ball, going to his right, spear and line drives. Here he goes on his belly, 360s, completes a play by 40 feet. And then this was the play of the night when he shot down Ender Inciarte when nobody thought he could get him. And that is our greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile.
So here's Crawford. I thought Samardzija had a great quote about Crawford. He said, there were a couple of times in the game after the ball was hit, I said, man, I'm in the stretch now. And all of a sudden Crawford makes a great play, and I realize now I'm not in the stretch.
Well, 18 defensive runs saved, and that leads Major League Baseball shortstops.
Hit well to left. Kemp on the move. It is out of here.
And that's the third time in his career he's taken Fultonavich deep. And I think all three have gone to the opposite field. And oh, by the way, it's 1-0 Giants.
Well, 4 lifetime hits, 3 of them home runs, and really with no other intent on his mind than just simply go with the location. He catches it with backspin, and with the power of the fastball velocity from Fultonavich, he rides it right out of here. That's impressive.
Well, here's Connor Gillespie. Gillespie with 5 home runs, 20 RBIs. And this is popped to the left side where Swanson will make the catch. So 1 out, and here's Nunez.
Take a look at how he's hit his home runs this year. 9 to the pull side and 3 to left field. And most of those 3 to left field have been in this ballpark. And it's not an easy place to hit them opposite field in this ballpark for anybody.
So here's Nunez. Nunez at 284, 13 home runs, 56 runs batted in.
He's with a Dodger friend. He lost a bet. Well, let me help you out there, brother.
Yep.
It's time.
Yep.
We're going to bring it back the rest of the year. He gone.
Tapped, slowly, foul. Nunez falls behind 0-2.
You can't have that guy be miserable. Come on, he's a true heart. I'd like to know seriously what the bet was. The t-shirt or the tiara?
Here's the 0-2.
Plus he's sitting there with the tutu on. I'd have had to seriously think about reneging on that bet.
No, you wouldn't have. I've never ever seen you in all the years I've known you renege on a bet.
I don't mind the tiara and the tutu. It's the t-shirt that would wear me out.
On the ground to third, and Garcia is there. And here's Brown. Brown hitting .253. 9 home run, or make it 5 home runs, 19 runs batted in. Dodgers won today. They beat the Cubs 3-2. And Brown not wasting any time as that's fouled out of play.
98-mile-an-hour fastball boring in on his hands just off the plate inside. That'll break your bat. There's that final down in LA you're talking about.
Brown rolls it foul. It's 1-2. And with that win, it's now a game and a half back. Giants really caught a break last night. The Cubs came back in the 8th inning, trailing by 2 runs. Tied the game in the 9th off of Kenley Jansen, and then Chris Bryant hit his 2nd home run of the game in the 10th. And the Braves snuck out of there with a win, but not so fortunate for the Cubs today. Strike 3 call to Brown, and that'll end the inning. So Crawford hits his 12th of the year. He goes the opposite way, and here in this ballpark, when it leaves the yard, it's bye-bye baby. It's 1-0 Giants.
and Bay Area is brought to you by Heffernan Insurance Brokers. Insurance and financial services for you and your business. Visit hefins.com.
Brandon Crawford's home run makes it a 1-0 ball game as Dansby Swanson is going to lead things off. Kid from Vanderbilt takes a pitch down low. Swanson yesterday went 1 for 4. See his numbers overall. Fultonevich is on deck. And a strike. We know one thing about Swanson, he can run.
I do believe he's got at least 4 of the 5 tools. I don't know how much power he has. They do think he's going to be good for about 10 a year, which is good for a middle infielder. I'll take that. But he is quick. He's got a good arm. We haven't seen enough of him yet to say he's got the tool of defense, but we assume. You don't get picked number 1 in the draft if you can't pick it.
That is a fact. 2-2.
Well, the one concern that the Giants had about Suarez, about whether or not he could find a rhythm early, he absolutely has found it.
He did. He found it after the second hitter, or after the first hitter. So 3-2 with the pitcher on deck. So this needs to be a strike. Hit foul and out of play.
Chip Carey, who is the play-by-play announcer for the Braves television broadcast, came over today and he showed us some pictures of the new ballpark that is going to be the new home of the Braves next year. And there's Chip on your right, Joe Simpson, one of our favorites on the left. And the pictures of the new ballpark were stunning. It is going to be something we'll all look forward to seeing for the first time. However, it is difficult to say goodbye to Turner Field. That's a beautiful ballpark.
Got him.
Pretty much the same location that Matt Kemp went down. And we talked about Corey Blazer, the plate umpire. He's got some width in his strike zone, and it's on the first base side. Another example of it. A 3-2 payoff fastball. See ya.
I asked Chip if a lot of things will be going from one park to the other. Is Fulton County Stadium, went to Turner Field. Asked him if the Tomahawk Chop is going to go to the new park, and he said yeah. Which I would have preferred to have just stayed.
At Fulton County Stadium.
Yeah. Fultonevich, 0-2.
There's the rendering of the new ballpark, and they're going to have a hotel just beyond the right field fence, very similar to where the hotel is in San Diego. It's going to be about 12 miles north of where the Giants stay. So I'd say about a half hour north of where the old ballpark was.
Hey, the Hammer's here. So Fultonevich strikes out. Giants Insider Podcast is sponsored by Max Muscle Sports Nutrition and is live on csnbayarea.com. Log on each week as insider Alex Pavlovich talks baseball, talks baseball, talks baseball. It's also available on iTunes. Here's Inciarte, who walked on 4 pitches. And a call strike. .12 is here.
Been waiting. 10, 12, 14. Yeah, I think those were pretty good years. 2010, 2012, 2014.
Hit on the ground to Panic. And that's going to end the inning. So nice inning for Albert Suarez. Giants lead 1-0.
Brought to you by Bank of America. Life's better when we're connected.
Giants are the 1-0 lead. As Gorkis Hernandez is going to lead things off. And Hernandez on the first pitch, a swing and a miss.
Yep, he's ready.
He's going to hold it there all 9 innings.
Yep. He's Mizuno
Somebody's
man.
going to put something in that glove. It might be a ball. It might be a hot dog. There's a bunt. Foltynewicz is going to barehand it and throw, and he almost threw it away. D-backs join us at AT&T Park on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Tuesday game is a 7:15 start. The Wednesday game, day baseball here at AT&T Park, 12:45. sfgiants.com/tickets. The D-backs, by the way, have their best 2 pitchers pitching in that game. And that would be Greinke and Ray. Suarez takes a strike.
Diamondbacks got their all-star center fielder back. A.J. Pollock has been out all year.
And a drive down the left field line. And this could be more than just a single. Suarez digging to second. Yeah, Hunter Pence is like, oh my goodness, he's the best.
Yeah, a fastball challenge down and in, and Suarez, he's a good 5 o'clock hitter. Here he does it at 6:45. We're going to show you that on our Exmo. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. And Hunter Pence leading the cheers. That's what you do when you're not playing. He and Buster Posey, cheerleaders tonight.
That's awesome. Here's Span.
First career double.
Look out. Suarez better hurry, and he gets there with ease. Kind of.
Kind of. Take a look at the jump that Suarez gets. So he just takes his 240 pounds and just sort of scoots on into third.
Scoots on in. A little flare down the left field line. Foul.
You're going to have to get more than medium depth if you're hitting a fly ball that's going to be deep enough to score Suarez from third. You remember, you've got good arms in the corners with Kemp and Markakis in right, Kemp in left. But it is a fly ball situation here for Span, who has been red hot, and he's been a good RBI guy these last several weeks.
Ooh, just inside, not by much. Dave Fleming's here. John Miller's not. So I'll head over to the radio side. Dave will come in for innings 4, 5, and 6. John on assignment. Two balls and one strike. Infield in, on the ground, and this is not going to do it. So Span is retired. So now Pagan will have to do the honors.
John Miller did not find out that he was on assignment till last night during the game.
John was the only one that didn't know he was on assignment.
He just kind of shows up and gets ready to go to work. Yesterday they said, John, you're on assignment tomorrow and Sunday. So we'll see John again on Tuesday.
Oh,
okay.
Pagan struck out in the first. Down low. And 2 outs. Scoring with 2 outs was a big deal last night for the Giants.
And they took advantage of just about every error that the Braves made. They made 3 last night, and the Giants made them hurt. Smile.
Right there for a strike to even the count.
Change up at 87 miles per hour. Yep, Saturday night at the yard. The whole family's here.
So that'll move Pagan off the plate. Remember, Fultonevich throws hard.
And he's not afraid to come inside either with 98. I mean, 98 is tough to pull when you're looking for it.
Two and one with Suarez at third, and it's 3-1. So Joe Panik may get a shot. We'll see.
You don't want to get caught getting jammed with 98 on the inside corner. That'll wear out a set of thumbs.
Foul.
Steve Kowalski, our ball dude tonight.
This is where Killer does his best work. You see that?
Yep.
Pick it up after it stops rolling.
That's when he does his best defensive work indeed. That's his wife Patty Kowalski. Good gamer, babe.
Is a check swing foul to the backstop.
That's the one I'm talking about. I mean, that's 98 boring right in on your hands. One thing 98 miles an hour on a fastball will do, it'll make you, it'll force you to get quick. Drop that back shoulder and try and lift and separate on 98 inside. Good luck with that.
Pagan stays alive. 98 again.
Fultonevich is playing country hardball right now. Not a whole lot of finesse. Meanwhile, out of McCovey Cove.
Yeah, looks like fun for somebody else. It is a beautiful night. First pitch, 64 degrees. I talked to my younger brother Glenn Azer in St. Louis. He said, "Yep, it's 10 o'clock. It's 90."
St. Louis can be a little warm in the summertime.
Yeah, that was 10 in the morning. Three and two. Hit on the ground. This will be at Peterson, and that'll end the inning. So Dave Fleming will be in. I'll see you back here in the 7th. It's 1-0 Giants.
We are going to the top of the 4th inning. Giants lead this ball game 1-0. Joining us in the booth now, Dave Fleming. Welcome.
Hi, Mike. Good to be with you.
Yeah, this is a good night.
Albert Suarez. How about Albert so far?
Well, he's been fantastic. They'd hoped that he would find an early rhythm. He has done that. He's put some early zeros up on the board. In his mind, he's thinking, I'm going 9 tonight, and I'm going to throw a shutout, and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think the Giants felt like they were fortunate in that it was his regular day to pitch, totally on routine. They had a little advance warning the last couple days with Peavy's back, so you know, not a huge surprise. Suarez has looked totally ready to go.
Well, and you know, his eyes aren't big getting to the big leagues anymore. I mean, he knows he can pitch here. He knows he belongs here. So when the opportunity presents itself, you know, mentally he's ready too.
That is definitely true. And his first pitch to Garcia, that curveball for a strike. You know, we were talking before the game, Mike, on our radio pregame show about he's still technically a rookie. He just doesn't. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it. Ground ball and past the infield. That is the first hit for Atlanta.
Garcia waiting well on that breaking ball, finds a hole. This is just about the time of the night where you're going to lose the shine on the backstop in the center field batter's eye. That's going to be shaded over here momentarily, but I mean, we used to have a 6:05 start. The first 3 innings, you know, it really does favor the pitcher. But you have to be a strike thrower, and you know, if you have a good curveball, it helps. And Suarez has done both of those things.
And now he faces the middle of the order for the second time. Freddie Freeman, first pitch swing.
All right, Killer Kowalski.
He's done this a few times.
Oh yeah.
He
Veteran
knows
fantasy camp. And
yeah, if anybody knows the deal down there. Freeman 0 for 1. Having another good year for the Braves. He's the mainstay for this team with so many new faces. Hits that one well down the right field line, and it is one hop up against that pillar. Hernandez kind of got caught in between. Garcia will get the stop sign as he relayed it back to Panic. But the Braves are set up, second and third, nobody out.
Well, that was not a mistake to location either from Suarez. I mean, that ball was inside. That was just an outstanding job by Freeman to go in there and dig this pitch out. I mean, that's right there just at the belt. I mean, that's where you want to try and jam a left-handed hitter. Both elbows bent. I mean, that's a hot hitter, and he's been on fire. And I think that at bat right there exemplifies it. When you're that quick in and you can barrel a perfect pitch, you're hot.
Well, we saw Jeff Samardzija last night work through a couple of these type of jams and never allowed a run. Not going to be easy here tonight. Infield is back. Matt Kemp, the hitter. And he got him to chase. Good start, strike one.
Well, this is really an opportunity for Suarez to throw every pitch like it's an 0-2 count. You've got an open base here. If you lose him, you set up the four. It's not the end of the world. So try and strike him out. It's a strikeout situation. Runner at third, less than 2 outs. Don't have to challenge here.
Hit to center field and well hit. Span is going to watch it. It's gone. And that was a mistake. A 3-run homer for Matt Kemp. Atlanta takes the lead.
Home run number 26 on the year for Kemp. And that indeed was a mistake. He did not have to bite off a big chunk of strike zone and watch the location right out over the middle, T-ball location. And for a guy with power, you miss out at the belt, it's going to elevate on contact. And Kemp backspins it right out to center. It's always been good to center and right center. That's been a big part of his power. And he just flipped it out to center.
And he is not the player that he once was with the Dodgers when he was an MVP candidate and one of the best all-around players in the game. But he still can do that to a mistake pitch. I mean, that 26 home run number is no fluke. A lot of them away from home, both with the Padres and Atlanta. So 3 straight hits, including the home run to start this 4th inning. And a whole different story for Suarez here in the 4th.
Well, and this becomes a big at bat right now. All right, home run, base is clean. You're back in the windup. Minimize the damage. Get the next guy. This next guy, if he gets on base, then that becomes a very stressful inning.
First runs the Giants have given up since what, middle of the game Wednesday? They allowed one that game to the Dodgers, shut them out on Thursday, shut out the Braves last night. Markakis down the left field line, foul. Not by much. Markakis, who's having a pretty good year for the Braves. The record is ugly. There's a curve that bounces, but Freeman, Kemp, Markakis, it's a legitimate middle of the order.
And they're all swinging it pretty good right now. I mean, this is a team that, you know, early in the year they were hitting 220, a little over 220 as a team, and they couldn't score runs. Since the break, they're hitting in the high 260s. And that ranks them 4th in the National League offensively. So they're no slouch with the bat in their hands.
Hitting for much more power than they were. Full count now to Markakis. Part of it is they have Kemp. They didn't have him for the first half. Big pitch to make here for Suarez. 3-2. Markakis pops it up. Trevor Brown, one away.
Better job of flipping the mask away than we've seen Trevor Brown have early in the year.
You're right. Get it out of there. Well, neither of these teams are big home run hitting teams, and that is sort of understating it. But that number for Atlanta is a little deceptive because of how their pace has picked up so much. I mean, right now they're not swinging the bats like a team that has the fewest home runs in the league.
You know, and you would always think that Colorado is going to lead the league in home runs. This year, not the case. In the National League, it's the Cardinals with 182. That leads the National League.
Remember the Cardinals last year? I mean, they had a great year. They did not hit a lot of home runs. They ended up winning 100 games, the Cardinals did, and they were toward the bottom in the National League. Totally different story for them this year.
Patty Kowalski.
Patty, long run.
Tending her garden.
Summer garden season, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good time of the year to live in the Bay Area. Height of flowers. I would say, I say that no matter what the time of year is, but right now.
Yeah, I was trying to think of when it was a bad time.
Good time to be at the farmers markets. Flowers held up. It's 2-2.
And there's my wife Jennifer, my granddaughter Reagan, my daughter Tessa.
Can you name everybody in the shot?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. A great looking group. A big weekend for the Crucos. Strike 3 called. Good fastball, 2 down. And Flowers is hot.
Well, that's 3 called strike 3s on the outside corner. The Braves haven't agreed with any of them. We talked about Corey Blazer. I mean, he gives you some width on that first base side of the home plate. And here again, staying true to the scouting report.
He wasn't even finished punching him out, and Flowers was already talking to him. That was pretty quick.
Flowers, the catcher. That conversation will carry on when he gets his gear on.
A little bit low to Peterson.
In the bottom half of this inning.
It's a big Cruco weekend, huh? Tomorrow's kind of the big day.
Big day, bobblehead day. My daughter Tess, my sons Wes and Chase are going to all sing the national anthem.
Yeah, they look really, really nervous.
They will have some fun.
Yeah, they're old veterans at that. Right off the foot of Peterson, 2-1. So will you watch from up here tomorrow? Is that the plan? Or will you?
Yes, I'll watch. Well, tomorrow is going to be 10 o'clock is gamer day. Tomorrow we're going to have a little get together at 10 o'clock in the morning. Be about 3,000 people here. And
just an intimate gathering.
A little intimate gathering, and then I will be watching the anthem from up here. You bet.
2-1. Did he go? No.
All right, did he go? Yeah, it's 50-50. If they called that strike, you wouldn't get a lot of argument.
Somebody's yelling at him from the Giants dugout. He's yelling back, Las Diaz. 3-1. Fouled away.
Yeah, Las Diaz, the third base umpire, protecting Corey Blazer. Laz.
He's got a pretty good sense of humor about it. Can't take it too personally if you're a big league umpire.
No.
3-2. Down the left field line. That's a base hit. Peterson can really run. Pagan will throw and safe. Good play by Pagan. Not much more he could have done. Jace Peterson just too fast.
Yeah, Peterson runs extremely well. The very fact that this was even close is a testimony to Pagan. Remember, he was a center fielder until this year, but he has really learned the footwork of left field. And, you know, he's got a pretty good arm. But when you've got great speed and you get out of the box like Peterson does, 99 out of 100 times it's going to be a double. And just like that, the red alert, George Cantos heads down to the Giants bullpen.
Yeah, Cantos is kind of, and we're in the 4th inning, so the idea of a long man. But Contos, if you're going to describe somebody in the Giants bullpen as that, with PV now on the DL, it's Contos.
Well, they don't have to pitch to Swanson here with the pitcher on deck.
They do not, and that might have been the conversation. They're not gonna. They'll walk the 8th place hitter intentionally. You have to think for Dansby Swanson, who was the #1 pick in the draft last year, superstar in college, has lit up the minor leagues, got to the big leagues very fast after that trade to Atlanta, that hitting 8th in a National League lineup is a very different thing for him.
Well, I think the plan is that he's eventually going to be probably the #2 spot.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Probably not huge power. I mean, he's an interesting player in that you think #1 overall pick, you think gigantic tools. You know, either somebody really big and strong or super whatever. And Swanson is more of the all-around kind of player, just a guy who does a little bit of everything. So they walk him, 2 on, 2 out for Foltynewicz. 8th hitter to come up in this inning. All 3 runs have scored in this inning. And he hits one to right field. Hernandez was playing shallow, and he's there to make the catch. Well, Suarez at least limits the damage, but Matt Kemp's 3-run homer puts the Braves ahead. It is 3-1 Atlanta. True stories. It was on this date in 2002. Bonds and Coors Field. That was a mismatch. 3 home runs on August 27th, 2002. It was the 2nd time in his career he went deep 3 times off Denny Stark 2 times, and then Kent Merker, that final home run. It was also his last career 3 home run game. Barry Bonds. He did a lot of spectacular things in that ballpark.
Oh. You know, when Colorado came into the league, though, the very first times we went in there, and he opened up originally at Mile High Stadium, he didn't do a whole lot. I mean, that's the only place where he got long. And, you know, that very quick, lightning, compact, powerful swing that he had, it got long because he was trying to hit home runs. And eventually he made the adjustment. It took him a few years, though.
Joe Panik's going to lead off here in the 4th. Giants now playing from behind 3-1 after the Matt Kemp home run. We've seen some other hitters over the years, and at least maybe initially going into Coors struggle with that, where you just amp yourself up. So I'm going to put my numbers up this weekend. I get 3 games in this park. I'm going to launch them. And it doesn't always work that way. You know who I think was like that early in his career was Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence's numbers at Coors Field were not good. And then one day that went away, and now he's had some huge games there.
Well, when I first got to big leagues, I was with the Cubs, and you'd see teams come into Wrigley Field, which back then it was like the livest yard in the National League. It was either that or Fulton County Stadium. but guys would really change their swings. You could see it.
Panic hard and off the pitcher. My goodness. Swanson bare hands and throws out Panic. Well, hopefully Foltynewicz is okay. I guess he is okay. He says he's fine. Man, Panic hit that hard.
That was a bullet.
Did you see where it got him?
Well, I think it got him a pretty meaty place. So maybe the back of the left leg.
Ouch, that still has got to hurt.
Yeah. And John Miller, if you're watching, the exit velocity was 102 miles per hour.
So yes, he did hit it hard.
And guys who have red hair, they bruise really good too.
So that'll be fun for somebody else to look at after the game. Maybe not fun for Mike.
Oh yeah, that's going to hang with him for the rest of the year.
Ball one to Crawford. Well, anyway, it is an interesting phenomenon. Coors Field, Wrigley Field, as you were talking about. Crawford, you guys circled him at the beginning of the game, the guy to watch.
Well, and you know, it's not the first time he's gone opposite field against him. And you just don't see that happen very much in this ballpark, opposite field home runs.
Every once in a while, you two guys look like you know what you're talking about.
Well, we have 162 games, about 4 times out of the 4 for 162. This is the swing of the bat we're talking about. Foltynewicz throws the high velocity fastball on the outside part of the plate. He backspins it right out of here.
On the ground softly this time. Freeman will feed Foltynewicz. 2 down.
Well, the Padres are coming to town Monday, September 12th through the 14th. And Monday, September 12th, you can join us for our annual Step Up to the Plate night, raising awareness for those living in poverty. Your special event ticket will include a Denard Span bobblehead and a ticket to see the Giants take on the Padres. Go to sfgiants.com/special events and check it out.
Got to get the special event ticket to get. It's view time and picture time. Got a good one. There's Connor Gillespie. That looked like the changeup.
That's one thing about kids today. No generation in the history of the world has ever been photographed more than kids in this generation.
So true.
They are not camera shy. Yeah, that's the best seat in the house, huh?
For baby and for mom, maybe. If I'm
Mom looks pretty happy.
If I'm going to do this bottle thing, here's the place I'd like to do it. He threw it again. 1-2. He does not throw a lot of those. But you would figure a changeup could be effective from a guy who throws 98 miles an hour.
Well, you're not going to look for it. And if your arm action is identical to that of the fastball, then you got yourself a weapon.
1-2. Gillespie shoots it foul.
Killer. Steve Kowalski, the ball dude, had a chance to make a play. Couldn't do it. E10. Killer.
He knows it.
Yes, he does.
To second. Peterson backed up to get the better hop, and he throws out Gillespie. So the Giants go down in order, and we'll go to the 5th with the top of the order coming back up 3-1 Atlanta.
What an exceptional athlete Jeff Samardzija is, an All-American wide receiver for Notre Dame, and last night he showed he has not missed a step. He scored from second base last night, and after the game he talked about it. He said he was trying to catch his breath, but if he's on the bases, he's going to give the same effort that his teammates give. He said that's why he loves this game. He loves the National League because he loves to run, and you can see, guys, hasn't missed a step. Jeff Samardzija, great athlete.
You know, seriously, we're going to have to find a new clip. I'm tired of seeing that one. Well, he burned a lot of teams that year. Why do we have to keep showing him against Stanford? Come on.
Dave Fleming, a proud alumni of Stanford.
He had 15 touchdowns his senior year. He's a first-team All-American.
But that night, that was not a very good night for him. I mean, he had 8 receptions. He had 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think that evening bears repeating.
He was a lot faster than T.J. Rushing, the poor defensive back who we keep showing over and over and over again. There's a little flip shot by Inciarte into left center field. Pagan, another good play by Angel out there. That'll hold the fast Inciarte to a single, but it is another hit for the Braves, who did not have a hit through 3 innings and since then have been hitting the ball all over the yard. Well, it's not Contos, it's going to be Lopez and maybe Corey Guerin as well. So Bruce Bochy could be looking to do a little mixing and matching. Dave Righetti coming out. 2 visits by Rags in this game. That might tie a season high. I think Dave Righetti visits the mound less than any other pitching coach in the league.
I think you're right.
And I don't say that as a criticism at all. I think, look, he trusts his pitchers. They have a good game plan. They've prepared for the game.
I mean, a lot of the visits that pitching coaches make, it's to buy time for the bullpen to go out and get loose.
Right.
And the Giants starting staff, for the most part, I mean, they've been innings eaters. They pretty much take the ball deep into the ball game on a regular basis. It's one of their strengths as a pitching staff. But the point you make about Dave Righetti doesn't have to go out there and say something that they already know, because he already taught them. It's a good point.
So runner at first. Nobody out. Garcia, who is a really aggressive hitter. Strike 1. He chased that one. He wants to swing the bat, and he's not a bad hitter. He's got some pop. But you can often take advantage of that aggressiveness. To right center field. Span's got a lot of room out there. 1 away. Inciarte thought about testing him. That was a good play by Span.
That's one of the best throws he's made, going to his left all year long. And Inciarte can move, and he went back to the bag anticipating I have a chance to score. He breaks off the bag, and if this is not a good throw, he's coming through. And that's going to be it for Suarez.
So Bruce Bochy managing really aggressively here. They're going to mix and match Lopez, probably just for Freddie Freeman. So we'll step aside when it's time for a change. Think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change, tune-up, and brake experts.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of San Francisco Baseball Associates, LLC.
Dave Fleming, Mike Krukow, Dwayne Kuiper will be back in the last few innings on the television side. Atlanta has the 3-1 lead, and the Giants make the pitching change to bring Javi Lopez in.
55th game he's pitched in this year for Bruce Bochy.
And maybe just for the one hitter, we'll see. Freddie Freeman on the ground, foul.
See the numbers career-wise, 2 for 11. He does have them in his book, and there aren't many left-handed hitters that can say that about Javier Lopez. In his career, he's given up 12 to left-handed hitters. 12 big flies.
On the ground, back to Lopez, who fields his position so well. That's one, that's two. What a job by Javier Lopez. Couple pitches, 2 outs, middle of the 5th, 3-1 Atlanta.
The Togo's way last night. Jeff Samardzija, outstanding. 7 strong, 7 hits allowed, no runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts at 107 pitches. And again, he showed a very, very consistent use of the curveball and the changeup. Had 5 speeds and was masterful. And that's our Togo's big play as he picked up his 11th win.
Nunez for the Giants against Fultonevich in the bottom of the 5th, 3-1. That's the Atlanta lead. Those two pretty dominant the last couple of games. Strike 2, foul ball off the fastball.
Well, with Matt Moore, when we saw him, we saw 4 pitches that he had absolute command of, as you see Jeff Samardzija here. Matt Moore on the right side of your screen. And their last starts were just fantastic. It's the first time we've actually seen Matt Moore have all of his weapons. The fastball mid-90s, the cut fastball in the low 90s, the curveball and the changeup.
96 miles an hour.
All right, time now for our Ford right choice. We're going to take a look at this turn. Watch Crawford and watch how he gets footwork and his back foot. When he plants, he receives that ball off his right hip, and then there's just a step exchange. You get another look at it here. Foot off the back hip, right foot shuffle, and then unloads, and it's not even close. Helps to have a perfect throw from Javier Lopez. That's our Ford right choice.
How about the series Brandon Crawford's having defensively?
Yeah, I mean, we can say that about a lot of the series he's had this year. Gold Glover is having another Gold Glove season.
Yeah, I mean, he should win that. To me, he's the hands down winner in the National League.
Well, we get a chance to see him play every day, and you know, he's the type of player that's how you appreciate him.
But we were talking with Bochy before the game tonight, and Bochy's words were, hard to have a better game defensively than Brandon did last night. Hard to do more things on the field than Crawford did. Trevor Brown takes strike 3 for the second straight at bat. Two down.
Now, the one thing you want to prove in this league as a pitcher is that you're a good front runner. When your team gives you a lead, you want to be able to get the shutdown inning and just keep putting shutdown innings up there. And the Braves feel that Foltynewicz is going to be an ace. They love his stuff. They love the way that he competes. The way that he can get that shutdown inning. And then seem to gather momentum as he has success in that regard. Remember, he's 24 years old.
24. Traded from the Astros to the Braves. That was the Evan Gattis trade a couple years ago. On the ground to third. Garcia playing shallow. Hernandez has good speed, but not enough for that play. So the Giants are gone in order again, and that is a shutdown inning from Foltynewicz. 3-1 Braves lead.
Light, and we want to compare 2010, 12, and 14. The Giants have played 128 games coming into tonight's ball game, and look what their record was in 2010. 71-57. They were trailing the Padres by 6.5. 2012 they had a 2-game lead, same thing, 71-57. 2014 69-59, 3 games back, and this year 70-58. So very similar position to their World Series runs. And those are our cold hard facts.
So maybe that means something good for the Giants. By the way, pitching change. And when it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change, tune-up and brake experts. George Contos comes in.
For the 48th time, Contos 3-2 with a 2.60 ERA.
Facing Matt Kemp. That one did miss by much. Ball 1. Kemp's 3-run homer is the offense for Atlanta. Got the 3-1 lead. That was against the starter Albert Suarez.
Now this is one of the mistakes that Suarez made. He didn't make many, but he had an 0-1 count and he throws a fastball and just caught too much of the strike zone. And with 2 on and nobody out, Kemp proceeded to absolutely blister it for home run number 26, and that is the difference in this ball game.
In the dirt, he got him to chase for strike 2.
And you can go right back down there and do it again. If he's not picking up your spin, he'll chase, and he'll chase on both sides of the strike zone, down and up. Contos shook off the breaking balls. He wants the fastball.
Just missed with it. It's 2-2. Among all active players, more games, more hits, more home runs, more everything than any active player against the Giants. On the ground, foul. And Contos had some memorable, when Contos first came up to the Giants, when they first acquired him, I think Contos earned some real points with Bruce Bochy for the way he handled Kemp. There were some memorable at-bats where Contos was really just trying to get himself established as a big leaguer, and Kemp was a star for the Dodgers. Big, important games.
Well, his slider always gave Kemp fits. And there it was. One thing about Kemp, and you can say about his whole career, he wants to swing the bat. He didn't go up there looking for a walk.
No. I would just do that same thing and see if he'll chase the next one.
And the only problem is you don't want to give up a leadoff hitter to a walk, so you should be in the strike zone here. If it was 1 out or 2 outs, absolutely. Because I agree with you, Kemp would be aggressive. Good chance he would go after it.
3-2. He did go after one that probably wasn't a strike. One away.
That would have been ball 4. It was a little bit higher, so a little more enticing. Slider, see ya. So he does indeed get that first out.
Yeah, kind of the perfect pitch where not in the dirt, more of a decision for the hitter, but out of the zone.
Yeah, tougher take. But again, you saw the aggressiveness of Kemp.
So here's Markakis, who is 0 for 2. That one out toward right center field. Hernandez kind of circling around it, 2 away. So 2 outs for Flowers.
Oh yeah. The bride is here. A little bachelorette party perhaps.
Otherwise just a crazy Saturday night. We got Tyler Flowers to chase that slider. 0-1.
Yeah, this is not the first night we've seen Mardi Gras beads.
That's true. In this ballpark, sometimes we assume, hey, it must be a bachelorette party. Must be some. Not always.
Not always.
Oh, 0-2.
Look of concern. She's figured it out. That's got Saturday night written all over it. She wears it well. She's got the Will Clark eye black on.
0-2 in the dirt.
It really, since this place opened up, it's been so entertaining to just see the different looks that Giants fans will give you coming into this ballpark. They do not lack for creativity.
There's no place like it. On a line out toward right center field. That's going to be into the gap. Flowers hit it hard. Cut off all the way out toward 421 by Hernandez, but it's a 2-out double.
That's a 2-strike, 2-out double, and that's a nice piece of hitting right there from Flowers, because that was not a hanger. It was a little slider outside corner at the knees. And watch him go with the location and find the triples alley gap. Slicing away from Span, he had no chance.
He's had a pretty good year, Tyler Flowers.
Well, they like him.
He's always among the league leaders. Now the Giants are going to pitch around Jace Peterson. So this is interesting.
Well, take your shot at a right-handed hitter on deck, and they really don't have to pitch to Dansby Swanson either with a pitcher on deck. They're not taking Fultonavich out of this ball game, so.
Well, that's true. That would really be using your open bases.
And the other thing too about Contos, I mean, he's a strike thrower. You never worry about him throwing strikes.
Yeah, sometimes if you were to maneuver to where the bases could be loaded with some pitchers, that's not a good thing. Contos, that shouldn't be much of a concern. We'll see.
Speaking of good attitude, he's figured it out.
just your normal San Franciscan, out for a night on the water.
He's in charge of the pedal and she's in charge of the cooler.
That's a pretty good team.
That's a good date right there on a Saturday night. So what do you think that she was thinking when he showed up at the doorstep with that hat on?
The guy I've been waiting my whole life for.
He's a champ.
Strike one on the outside. Looked like cutter from Contos to Dansby Swanson. I think the Braves have used Brandon Crawford as a model for him. Like, hey, he could be really good all-around player. I'm not sure that's a high bar defensively, but they're thrilled to have him. Strike two swinging. And he's up in the big leagues quickly. I mean, he was drafted last year, this guy. All right.
Last swing before the ring.
Okay, that confirms it.
All right, Laura. Well, best wishes to you.
Good luck. Hopefully your future husband has one of those World Series trophy hats. 0-2 on a line to right field, and that's going to get down base hit. Hernandez has a pretty strong arm. Here comes the throw. One hop right there and waiting, and Flowers is out. What a throw by Gorkys Hernandez.
You called it. He's got a great arm, and Bo Porter, I mean, this is not a bad play. Why? Because there's a pitcher on deck, and he decided to challenge the defense, and the defense makes the play. Nice play, Hernandez.
The victim of the new guy prank, Angel Pagan Denard Span, clearly had a conversation before the game. 1, 2, 3, ready. Yeah, just kidding. We're not going to jump, but everybody's going to watch you. Joe Panic, Adrianza, they enjoyed it. It is our Healthy dose of goodness is brought to you by Eric's Deli Cafe, and that's what happens when you're feeling good. I talked to Angel Pagan, gentleman, and he said, you know what, we like to just have some fun, especially with a new guy. It helps him relax, play a couple jokes on him, and then you know you're really part of the team, guys.
And then he makes a throw like he did to retire the side in the top of the 6th inning.
Yeah, that helps. That gives you clubhouse credibility right there. You're trailing by 2 runs in a ball game. Guy comes up like that to nail down the inning and prevent a run. Make a lot of friends doing that. Let's take a look one more time. A perfect one-hop feed right to Brown with plenty of time and put the tag on. And Flowers has nowhere to go except back to the dugout to put his gear on.
So Ere Adrianza will pinch hit for Cantos, who throws a scoreless inning thanks to Hernandez.
It really is a perfect throw to handle. The hop just comes up high just above the belt.
Did you see the umpire? Corey Blazer, his call was boom. You could read his lips. Who's going to take this one? Freddie Freeman, one away. So here's Denard Span, 0 for 2 tonight. One thing about the Giants, first of all, they are a little short-handed on the bench with Pence and Posey both out, and Giants hoping to not use either. I think use Posey as a pinch hitter late in the game. Posey could play, but hoping to avoid him. But on a different night, maybe Cantos, they would have used a double switch to let Cantos pitch a couple of innings. But partially the bench is a little thinner, and partially the bullpen is so fresh. I think Bochy's happy to give a little work to a couple guys. Denard Span, first pitch swinging, base hit.
Yeah, that was not a hanger either. He went down and got one.
So he's aboard with 1 out. The 7th annual Giant Race presented by Blueprint for Athletes. Sunday, September 11th. You finish right here on the field at AT&T Park. Half marathon, 10K, 5K, kids race, family relay, distances, and everybody gets a Brandon Crawford runner bobblehead. Register now at giantrace.com. The Flemings will be there, minus Dad.
And they're all going to run?
They're all going to run.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, that's what happens when your 3 children have a mother that runs. They want to be like mom.
Mom would like to run the half marathon. The 6-year-old, that won't be happening. So I think they're going to run the 5K.
I wouldn't bet against them.
Ball 1 to Angel Pagan. He's been hitting with some power here lately. So let's see. He is the tying run. Giants down 2. That one gets by Flowers to the backstop. Well, you don't need a home run. Base hit, get a run closer.
Not a lot of slide set up in the outside corner for Fultonevich. I mean, he's been pretty close to hitting that glove a lot. I mean, and if you're a catcher, you know, you can get lured into a false confidence thinking the guy's going to hit your glove. And if he misses across the plate like Fultonevich did, I mean, at 97, 98 miles an hour, you don't have time to slide a body in front of it if you're a catcher.
Good hitters count. Foul ball.
Man, making a play, and as we so often see here, our fans find a young fan learning to be a fan and give that ball away. You ask yourself, who's going to take that baseball to bed with them tonight?
And if you can answer that one with, hey, me, then okay, keep it. Otherwise,
give it up.
On the ground to third, Garcia throws out Pagan. 2 down. Well, this feels like a pretty big moment in this game. He got a chance to get a run closer. With your 2-3 hitters up, we'll see if Joe Panik can knock in Span. Panik hit a bullet his last time up that got Fultonevich in the leg, and it caromed out to short. Swanson threw out Panik. Otherwise, it would have been a hit. And he's really been swinging the bat much better these last few games. He looks like Joe Panic. Hits that one out to right center field. Sprinting over Inciarte. Out number 3. Kipe will come back and join Mike here on the TV side of things. The Giants trail onto the 7th, 3-1.
Local Toyota dealer. Let's take a look at what has happened through 6 full innings of play. The Braves 3 runs on 7 hits. The big swing of the bat, a 3-run homer off the bat of Matt Kemp, his 23rd career homer against the Giants. Mike Foltynewicz has been cruising through 6. Crawford, an opposite field home run, 3rd time he's taken Foltynewicz deep, and Albert Suarez 4 1/3. That's our Toyota game summary. Right now, we have a new pitcher. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change tune-up and brake experts. It's going to be Derek Law coming into his 53rd game. It is 3-1 Atlanta. It's the top of the 7th inning, and here again is Dwayne Kuiper.
All right, thanks, Mike. Foltynewicz takes a call strike. And it's 0-2.
So welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
How was it over there?
Great. That was never better. Here's the 0-2 and a swing and a miss. Foltynewicz trying to figure out how that happened.
Well, he just missed it by about a yard. It happens.
So here's Inciarte. We have seen some at bats lately from pitchers that would make Rob Manfred really actually think about the DH in the National League.
Well, yeah, but they're entertaining.
Entertainingly bad. So here's Inciarte. Big curveball misses. 1 ball and no strikes. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Inciarte takes high. 2-0.
Hey, Albert Suarez, he had a double tonight.
Yes, he did.
His first double in his career.
And the 2-0 pitch is a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. Giants running out of time. They still have 9 more outs in this game. So we're going to tap her foul. 2-2.
Inciarte comes into this game at a .337 on base percentage, and I mean, you'd like to have him be .350. If it's .375, I mean, that's very good. .400, you're talking all-star leadoff hitter. But they really believe that Inciarte is going to develop into a guy who can be very consistent at the top of the lineup. I mean, he can bunt. He's got great speed. Not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He'll take pitches.
On the ground, it'll be Crawford charging. He's got a throw, and they got him. You don't have a lot of time with Enciarte. There's a couple of plays that'll define a shortstop. That's one of them.
Well, and it defines a great arm, and he's got the strongest arm in the National League. And we're talking about a lot of shortstops that have great arms. And he sets his feet, gets momentum going to the bag, and then unloads right in the sweet spot of the glove. And in the end, he just gets him by a quarter step.
He doesn't use the arm a lot where he airs it out. He doesn't do the Sean Dunston where every throw is a really hard as you can throw, and it worked for Sean. Crawford uses it when he has to.
Well, when Sean Dunston played, he had the best arm in the National League, but he didn't have the ability to finesse a throw. I mean, it had to be all he had in order to control it. I used to always love when we would play the Cubs and Dunston would be at short, Mark Grace would be at first base, and there'd be like a slow hopper to shortstop, and he would come in and get the ball right around the cut of the grass, and he would unload. And I don't know how Mark Grace ever made some of those plays.
It's 2-2.
I mean, I bet right now, Sean Dunston, and he's been out of the game for what, 10 years at least? I bet he can still throw 90 from the mound.
2-2. Well, there's a reason why he doesn't throw batting practice.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Tapped to Law. Side retired. For the Giants, Crawford, Gillespie, Nunez, Brown, Hernandez, they're all coming up. 3-1 Braves. Braves. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. You can watch every out-of-market game live in HD. Visit MLB.TV for details. So here's Crawford, and Crawford takes the pitch high. 1 ball and no strikes. Giants need a base runner or 2. Here's the 1-0 to Crawford. Swinging a shot into right field, and that'll be more than a single. Crawford hits the bag. He's going to go into second base. Is digging it out is Markakis, and that's a leadoff double.
Oh, Mike Foltynewicz has got really great stuff, but Brandon Crawford is just not impressed. That's 3 home runs and a double lifetime, and just wearing him out. It gets a good pitch to hit, breaking ball, middle in, above the knee, and he just spins on it. Freddie Freeman,
did he not see it?
I don't know. That wasn't that far away from him. He may not have.
So here's Connor Gillespie.
Ian Kroll, the only lefty in the Braves bullpen, up and getting loose.
Down low to Gillespie.
Take a look at Freddie Freeman at first base. I know the ball was hit hard, but he must have been thinking. He may have had a lean left.
He could have. 1-0 to Gillespie, who's popped out and bounced out. And a wicked swing and a foul. 1 ball and 1 strike.
His head pulled off it just a little bit. So Ramirez, the right-hander. Jose Ramirez. I'm not sure his hat's going to stay on.
Probably not. 1 ball and 1 strike. Driven to right. Markakis is going to reach up and make the catch, and Crawford gets back.
Gillespie continues to hit the ball well and have nothing to show for it.
He has just been Mr. Bad Luck or Mr. No Luck. Here's Nunez.
Mr. None Luck. Will Smith sort of easing his way down to the bullpen for the Giants.
Nunez has bounced out and struck out, and the pitch is wide. 1-0.
It'll definitely make you shake your head.
It will. You do everything right and you get nothing.
That's the what the heck is going on look.
Hit on the ground. Garcia got him. Nice play.
Garcia's got a good arm, and he had to rely on it there. I don't know if Swanson, the shortstop, would have been able to make the play had it gotten by Garcia.
He probably would have been able to glove it, whether he could have thrown him out or not.
Sweet spot, spins, a little bit of trouble, get it out of the glove, and then unloads. And Eduardo Nunez can run. Garcia had 17 errors this year. See his fielding percentage.
Well, Brown's got a shot now with 2 outs. And a strike, and it's 0-1.
Well, so far tonight, Trevor Brown has not been able to pick up.
It's been in these spots, though, where Brown usually has his best at bats. One ball and 1 strike.
Struck out twice, and he's had 2 called strike threes against Foltynewicz.
A 1-2.
And it's not like Foltynewicz has lost anything on the fastball. Next pitch is going to be number 85. I got to believe he's still got plenty left in the tank. Look at that last fastball.
And that's a hat trick for Trevor Brown. Giants waste the leadoff double. We will head to the 8th. It's 3-1 Atlanta. on CSN Bay Area is brought to you by the California State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways, and they're reminding you that life jackets save lives. Remember that. It's a 3-1 lead for the Braves. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change tune-up and brake experts.
So Will Smith coming into tonight's ball game, 1-4 in the year with a 4.55 ERA, had a great series down in Los Angeles. Became part of that rivalry very quickly. Pitched in 2 of those 3 games against the Dodgers. Low 90s fastball, curveball, slider, go get him.
And the pitch to Freeman is a curveball for a strike, and it's 0-1. Freeman doubled before Kemp hit the 3-run home run. One ball and 1 strike. No overshift. Panic out into deep second base as Span goes back, and Span will make the catch backpedaling. Nice play.
Really was, and we've been marveling at the jumps that he's been getting off the crack of the bat. I mean, and I thought when this thing initially left the bat, had a chance to get over the head of Span, and he says no. And it kind of spins him around. Sweet spot.
Here's Kemp. And Kemp looks at a strike. Markakis is on deck. On the ground to third. Nunez has it. He'll take his time. 2 outs.
Barry Bonds.
Is he here? Hey, all right, Barry.
Gone but not forgotten.
How did Barry's team do today? Oh, San Diego shut him out 1-0
in Miami. Barry now the hitting instructor for the Marlins.
I can tell you exactly what Barry Bonds would say to us if we mentioned that score.
What would he say?
Not have been a shutout if I was playing.
Yeah, you really couldn't argue with him either.
Oh, you'd probably have to say, yeah, all right, we got you. Markakis rolls that pitch foul. I mean, you see left-handers take swings against Will Smith like that, and you can see how tough he is on left-handers because Markakis is a good hitter. Oh, 0-2. And the pitch. And it's a high fastball, 1-2. Giants in the 8th inning. The bottom of the 8th will have Hernandez. Then a pinch hitter. And you really start to look at what's available. Remember, Hunter Pence dinged up. Belt dinged up. Adrianza's been used. And Buster Posey's not exactly 100%. Here's the pitch. Smith started to leave. It's 2-2.
Hey, it's almost the end of August. Well, it is the end of August, almost the 1st of September. And I don't think there's any catcher in the big leagues that's
feeling all that great. Kind of the nature of the position.
Little pop up to panic, and that'll end the inning. Giants are coming up. They trail 3-1.
Ball's not carrying to right.
CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota's Labor Day clearance event is here. For Labor Day only, get $2,500 total cash back on the redesigned 2016 Prius. Toyota, let's go places. By Kelly Moore Paints, celebrating 70 years as your neighborhood paint store. And by Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience TV.
And the pitch to Hernandez is a called strike. It's 3-1 Atlanta. Gorkys Hernandez is 0 for 2. Tried to bunt his way on in the third and then bounced out to third in the fifth. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
Pitch count really not an issue for Foltynewicz. That last one at 87 on the night as Brandon Belt comes out on the on-deck circle for the Giants.
Hit on the ground, and Peterson has it. 1 out. And here's Belt.
I mean, you look at the pitch count, the score, you think Foltynewicz is totally in command of this game, but the Braves have had action in their bullpen the last 4 innings. Gives you an idea of how they prize this 24-year-old right-hander. You can see why with what he's done tonight.
Belt with a swing and a miss, and it's 0-1. Out of play, 0-2.
Seeing Brandon Belt come into this pinch hit situation, I asked Steve Decker, what do guys do prior to a pinch hit? He goes, well, they'll get up and they'll go down the cage behind the Giants dugout downstairs, and they'll start taking T-work, soft toss, they'll take some pitches. So I said it's virtually impossible for a guy to be cold coming into a pinch hit role. He goes, impossible. Now, was that the case when you were pinch hitting?
Yeah, absolutely. If you weren't cold, then you weren't ready at Candlestick.
There was no cage attached to the dugout.
Yeah, it was worse for the visitors. It's 2-2. Visitors had to walk across the field to get into their clubhouse. These guys have been waiting the whole game. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes to Belt. And he got him.
good hard slider, and it freezes him. Well, check out our next TV game tomorrow, game 3 of this 3-game series. The finale, Giants taking on the Braves at 1 o'clock. Pregame live at 12:30 right here in CSN Bay Area. Plus complete pre and post game coverage with Giants insider Alex Pavlovich. The home of the authentic Giants fan is right here, CSN Bay Area.
So here's Span. Span on the ground and a fair ball down the left field line over the bag. Slows down after it hits the wall, and Span's got a double. So there you go.
Stay hot. Little 2-out thunder. 2-seam fastball going away, and he just goes right with the high mistake. It wasn't across the middle of the plate, it was on a corner, and the only way you could beat it is if you go the opposite way, and indeed that's what Span does.
So here's Pagan.
Foltynewicz does not have a complete game this year. In fact, the Braves only have one. Julio Teheran has that. See it, Romo. Say why 2 right-handers up? Well, if the Giants take a lead, Casilla will be in. If they don't, Romo will be in.
Pagan is 0 for 3. And due. Outside and high, 1 ball and no strikes.
And he's been hot. He's not had a lot of 0 for 3s this second half.
And a strike. Foltynewicz right now still just pounding that fastball. The 1-1 to Pagan. 1 and 2.
A good changeup. I mean, when Foltynewicz has had to make a pitch, I mean, he's mixed it up. He has not been predictable. Not even to the 98-mile-an-hour fastball that he's been throwing consistently here, off a 2-seam grip, a circle changeup, and he has Pagan way out front. What a beautiful pitch. And he's ridden that fastball most of the night at 62% of what he's thrown.
2 and 2.
And an 89-mile-an-hour slider is not one you are real anxious about. Take it in the shins.
Yeah, that would not be good. Two and 2. Crowd trying to get behind Angel Pagan. Here's the pitch. It's high, 3 and 2.
Another changeup.
Three-two pitch. Here it is to Pagan. Out of play.
Fought off some fuzz at 97 right across the knees. 100 pitches on the night for Foltynewicz.
Panic watching patiently in the Giants on deck circle.
Good chance this may be the last hitter he faces tonight, no matter what.
3 and 2. Foul back again.
3-2. Give it a go. Foul back again.
You got a fight going on. You got a guy that's been throwing great on the hill, Fultonevich, who has command of 4 pitches, and he's throwing 97. And you got a guy in the batter's box who's been red hot, just coming off a 19-game hitting streak.
And neither giving in. It's 3-2 with Span at second. That's it.
Well, that was a great at bat from Pagan. So Brian Snitker, the manager of the Brave, going to the pen.
When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. Your oil change tune-up and brake experts. We'll be back. See it right here on CSN Bay Area. Henry Wolford, Kelly Johnson. Reaction to this game. You get a reaction to Colin Kaepernick and the national anthem story, and Raiders and Titans. Reaction to that exhibition football. So Joe Panik is going to hit. Mauricio Cabrera is coming in, and he's a softballer.
Well, yeah, he's a softballer, right? He averages 101 miles per hour with his fastball. That's his average. And he's got a really good changeup, kind of a so-so breaking ball, but he didn't throw it very often. It's fastball, over 100, and changeups, which are nasty. 22 years old.
And it's outside for a ball, 1-0.
At 100. Big guy, 6'3", 245 pounder. He's a pure rookie.
Tyne Runnez at first with good speed. A ball in the gap, and they're not playing doubles defense. There's a strike.
And that's a changeup. Don't let the 90-mile-an-hour speed fool you. That's his changeup. This guy has absolute TNT in his shoulder. And just a baby.
So Panik waiting. He's 0 for 3. And he taps this one slowly. And the throw to first, and they got him. And a nice play by Freeman and Cabrera. We'll go to the 9th. It remains 3-1.
It is ready for you, and you can watch it tonight right after Sportsnet Central. We got a packed show, including the impact and legacy of the first Giants Batgirl, Alexis Bush. And Will Clark takes a whack at our game show. Brandon, find out how he did. And Sergio Romo, George Contos, they joined the Uber pool and got to surprise a few folks. It's a good one. G-Mag right after Sportsnet Central tonight. Gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Amy, as we go to the 9th. And Sergio Romo is now on to do the pitching.
Take a look at his numbers. 24th time he's come in. 1-0 with a 3.44 ERA. Been throwing great ball lately. 21 strikeouts against 3 walks in 18 innings.
And on the first pitch, driven high into left center field. Span is on the move, and he's going to make the catch. And Flowers is retired on the first pitch. You get a hanger?
Well, a first pitch slider, but you're going to bite off a little more strike zone, and I think he was up there looking for something that was going to be missing middle end, and yeah, there was some hang time on it, and he just missed it.
So here's Jace Peterson. Peterson, 1 for 2. And the pitch is wide, 1 ball and no strikes. Look out. Jim Johnson is in the bullpen.
There's the closer of the Braves.
For the Giants in the 9th inning, it'll be Crawford, then Gillespie, then Nunez, and then Brown, and then others. Pitch is high, 3-0. And the walk.
So a rare walk, and it happens on 4 pitches. Just the 4th walk that Romo has had this year. So he takes a walk around the mound, trying to figure it out.
Here's Swanson. Swanson, 1 for 2. Blooped a single into right. In the 6th, only to have Hernandez throw out Flowers trying to score from second. Swanson waiting on Romo, and Romo throws, and there's that slider that misses in. 1 ball and no strikes.
Not by a whole bunch.
And the slider this time is fouled off.
Kind of a get it in slider right there in the 1-0 count. He's throwing 5 balls in a row. Not his #1 frisbee slider with the no dot spin.
On deck is Beckham. Runner goes, pitch out, Brown's throw, got him on the foot. Peterson thrown out.
Now Bruce Bochy picked that one clean. And a nice play from Crawford. realizing that that throw from Brown was going to come into the runner, and he just goes with it knowing it's going to be a leg tag. And right there to make the call, Jeff Nelson, the crew chief. See ya. If you're a catcher, if you're going to miss on the second base side of that bag.
Yeah. Swinging a drive to left, but Pagan is there, and that'll end the inning. So here come the Giants, and they need 2 to tie, and they need 3 to go home.
We think that Mike Fultonevich is the player of the game tonight. 7 2/3 strong baseball with an outstanding command of 4 above average pitches, 5 hits allowed, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Our player of the game brought to you by Honda, Mike Fultonevich.
And he'll be shocked to see what he gets for that.
Well, the pitcher now for the Braves will be their closer, Jim Johnson. Johnson in his 9th year at the big league level, and this will be the 50th time he's come in. He's got 12 saves on the year, 49 strikeouts, 48 1/3, a big sinker, and he'll throw low to mid 90s with that sink. He's got a curveball and a changeup.
So Crawford to lead things off, and he's going to look at a strike.
And you're not going to look at a first pitch curveball like that, so he steals strike 1. A couple of years of Baltimore, Johnson, the closer, had 51 saves, backed it up with a 50 save season. So he's got credentials.
Crawford taps this one slowly, and they got him. Nice play. It's a nice play, and it's a play that has to be made if you're in the big leagues.
But it's not an easy play.
It's not.
You're coming in and on it, and you got to be able to have some velocity on your throw, throwing it off the right foot. And he does so beautifully.
Giants still need a base runner, and here's Connor Gillespie, and he takes wide. Gillespie's looking for a little luck.
Nunez will get his chance.
And this is line foul.
Well, who's the lucky winner going to be? Oh, there we go. Good pick.
Not a tough choice.
Psyched. She got a ball.
1 ball and 1 strike. And now it's 1 and 2.
Yep. Smile's going to go home. It may not come off her face.
Tap foul. Gillespie stays alive. Tomorrow, we'll be back right here in these chairs. And Madison Bumgarner will be on the hill. Yep. Lots of smiles, and that's the way it should be. Here's the 1-2. Out of play. Nunez is waiting on deck. We are in the 9th, and the Giants trail by 2, and the 1-2 pitch to Gillespie is in the dirt. It's 2-2.
Almost hit him on the foot. Right now the Giants take a base runner anywhere they can get it.
Anyway.
Hunter Pence with a bat in his hand.
Tapped up the middle. 2 outs. When Johnson's good, and when he had all those saves you're talking about, he got a lot of ground balls.
Oh, he's always been a sinker baller. You're right. I mean, he had it going. The A's got him after the 2 years where he had 50 and 51 saves, and he really hit on hard times. His year with the A's, he had 2 saves and an ERA in the 7s. He could not ever figure out the mechanics.
Nunez trying to get it to Buster Posey, who's on deck. And he takes inside for a ball, 1-0.
When you have a high velocity sinker, though, I mean, life is good. You get a lot of outs. Don't have to throw a lot of pitches to get him.
There's a strike. This should do it. And it does. In game 2 in this series, goes to the Atlanta Braves as the